Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ikwuano Federal Constituency, the President General of the Progressive Abia Youth Association. What we're doing today is a historic move, a historic walk towards good governance in Abia State and Nigeria as a whole. And we believe that this particular exercise will lead to the transformation that will seek the overall political, social, and economic transformation that will seek in Nigeria and Africa. Today with me I have Prince Obinna Nwosu, who is the ADC candidate for Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency. He's a young man, and we're pleased to interact with him today. We're going to be having this conversation for the next 1 hour, discussing issues around what Mr. Obinna wants to do for his constituency and why he's running for office. To start this particular engagement, as always, we will start with our national anthem, and we'll have his blessing lead us in that particular phase. So let's stand up for the national anthem and Abia State anthem as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Prince Obinna, this is a historic moment in the history of Abia State. This is the first time that the youth of Abia State are taking up this initiative to engage those that have presented themselves to serve Abians in different capacities and understand what the ideologies are, understand why they've presented themselves to run for office, and ultimately make them understand that in this time, this generation of young people are not shy of the political space. They're not shy of getting involved. They're not scared of engaging the leaders and as well participating in the process, because you know over time we've had these issues around voter apathy and the youth shying away from the political process. But just to start this conversation, we want to know who you are, what your backgrounds are, and you know, what if we talk about Prince Obinna Nwosu, who is Prince Obinna Nwosu?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like you said, this is very historic. This is the first time that we are seeing the youths, you know, of Abia State, in fact, in general, the country, coming out to want to pass a strong message, to want to see a difference in our society and get things work right. You know, in terms of the person, Prince Obinna Nwosu, Obinna Nwosu is a committed Nigerian who is dedicated to the cause of nation building, who wants to see things done right. Obinna Nwosu is a firm believer in God, a firm believer in justice, equity, fairness, and the essential ingredients that make societies work. You know, Obinna Nwosu is a youth advocate. Obinna Nwosu is an advocate of education. And Obinna Nwosu is one who is very firm in his resolve to see that our society gets better, that his generation will set the right pace to finally put Nigeria on the right path and right trajectory. So Obinna Nwosu is also a mathematician because I studied BSc mathematics in school. Obinna Nwosu is an accountant, a certified national accountant. Obinna Nwosu is an investment analyst. You know, I studied MSc Investment and Finance from England. You know, Obinna Nwosu is a business administrator, a certified business administrator from the University of South Wales. You know, Obinna Nwosu is a public servant who is committed to the just cause and seeing a nation work, seeing our society work for all. You know, so that is a brief summary of who Obinna Nwosu is.
Yeah, thank you for that brief summary. And when you were, you know, listing some of your educational qualifications, you know, something got me. We have some convergence in the area of mathematics. I also studied mathematics in university. But yeah, here we are talking about issues around governance. We're not talking about the Y, the X. We're talking about issues that affect leadership, that affects our generation and those that are unborn. So now that we have an understanding of where you're coming from and the things that have built you up, what is your major motivation? What is the basic motivation behind your aspiration to represent the good people of Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency?
Yes. Now, that is a good question. You know, when it comes to politics, one thing I know that we have struggled with is, as a society, is we have a lot of our sound minds who decide, for one reason or another, decide to shy away from politics. You know, and when these kind of individuals, the right mind, stay away, then sometimes it gives room for the wrong type of people to jump in and then make things bad for the general society, including the sound minds. You know, and when I was working in Abia State, because I worked with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, you know, Occupational Safety and Health Department, you know, we had a program in Abia, you know, and during that program I was discussing with a lecturer in Abia State University, you know, and while we were having our great interaction, you know, at the crux of our discussion, he said something. You know, he said Abia State is in the position that it's in today because people like you have stayed away from politics. You know, and he said whenever you apportion blames, do not forget to take your own fair share of the blame. You know, and what he said really got me thinking. You know, it literally gave me sleepless nights because I'm someone who always advocates for things to be done right. You know, but sometimes if you keep talking, there's so little you can do if you are not involved in the political process. You know, so I looked at the challenges that our youths are facing. I looked at the challenges that our society is facing in terms of infrastructure. I looked at the unemployment numbers. When you look at the National Bureau of Statistics, I look at some of these factors and I say, these are things that I have been to societies, countries where these things have been put in place. Why can't it be done down here? Some of us have tried to proffer commendations across various platforms, but it's not just enough unless you get involved. And they say leaders are individuals with a deep sense of responsibility. So I just couldn't sit back and then pray for it to just get perfect in one day or another. It involves getting involved, being intentional. So that was why I made up my mind. I said that, look, I'm not going to leave this political arena. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here and dabble it out with some of these people, and then hopefully share my message to the people and let them know what I have on the table and how I want to make life better for the general society. So these are some of the things that motivated me to come out to say, look, I am going to do this. And it is my belief to also inspire and motivate more sound minds to let them know that this political arena is not just an arena that should be left to any kind of, anybody can be in here that wants to make a difference. You want to make a difference, you come in. If not, you find yourself being governed by your inferiors or those who might not mean so well for the society. So,
all right,
yeah.
All right, thank you. I mean, what you talked about, getting people to hear you, to understand what you have to offer is one of the objectives of this very program that we're doing, to give this platform for candidates, political candidates, to share their aspirations, share their ideologies and their thoughts. Gone are the days when people just emerge from the blues to hold political offices. Now we understand the critical role that politics and political offices play in the lives of everybody across demographies. That's why we find it very, very crucial to have this conversation. So you talked about working with the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Outside that engagement in the public sphere, have you had any political experience before now? Have you had any political office or leadership position?
Yeah, no. You must know, for a start, you know, working in the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, that itself is public service. You know, it's civil service, it's public service. You know, and working then, like I said, I was in the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. We were in charge of anything. When I was in Abia State, we were in charge of anything factories in the state. So I have literally been to every factory in the state. You know, so that is its own form of service. You know, it's another form of service that might not necessarily be in terms of political or running for election. So that is a form of service on its own, because I was there for 5 years, you know, and I was also committed. I believe the role I was playing is literally the role any public office holder should play. It does only comes in different capacities when you compare it to maybe a government appointee, governor, a minister, a commissioner. It's just so we are all serving the public. We are all serving the public, you know. So that in itself is strong experience, you know, because I picked up a lot working in there that prepared me in terms of, you know, further or higher capacity of serving the public, you know. Yeah.
Okay. But then now you're taking it a step. You're taking a step further to represent your people at the National Assembly. The National Assembly is all about legislation. It's all about lawmaking. It's all about policy development and policy formulation, bill development, bill passage and propositions and all of that. So, as someone that is aspiring to get into the National Assembly, what are the specific areas, what are the policy directions that you are going to be focusing on, and what essentially are you going to be advocating for at the National Assembly? We've asked questions before around the state police bill and several other bills that are being considered. A couple of them are controversial. So considering all of these issues that are both of state and national importance, what are the policies that you're going to be you know, pushing forward, and what bills do you hope to push forward in the National Assembly?
Yeah. For a start, one that is very dear to my heart, you know, is a bill that will ensure, I call it the Pay Teachers First policy. It's a bill that will ensure that the educational sector, you know, the teachers are those who are being paid first before any line of government. Because looking at the challenges that we have faced in, let's say, in Abia State now, where we have seen some of our institutions shut down, because teachers, the educational sectors are being owed their salaries. You know, it's something that is dear to my heart. I want to see a situation where the teachers are being paid before the governors, the commissioners, the media aides, the special advisors, and the rest of them. Because for someone like me who know the importance of the educational sector in terms of nation building, you know, if we prioritize the education in our society, then it's also a key part of building the society. Like I always say, if you go and look at the best performing nations, economies in the world, and you look at the nations with the best educational sector, you will see that they tally. So you look at the USA, it's among the best economies in the world. It also has the best educational sector. You look at the UK, you look at France, so you look at Korea, South Korea, and a lot of these nations. So education is the bedrock. It's the bedrock of nation building, fixing the society. So I want to ensure that we have leaders who recognize this and prioritize this. So I'm going to push for a bill, a policy that will ensure that the educational sector comes first. Because one thing is for certain, a well-motivated teacher is in a position to give the best to the students. You know, when a teacher is being owed months and months of salary, you don't expect them to go out there and give out their absolute best. It will be difficult, even if they want to. You know, so this is something that I take very serious, and I intend to push there. You know, I intend to push there and walk around it. I've been advocating for it, you know, to see a system where the governors will not go ahead paying other sectors that they feel may be more important, because there is no sector more important than the educational sector. For some of us who may be parents, and for parents in the society, everyone wants the best for their children. Everyone wants the best. And when you talk about giving the best to the children, there's nothing more substantive you can give to them than education. You know, when you give them quality education, you have put them in the right pedestal to move ahead and carve a nice inch each for themselves. So that is something I look at. That is one that I'm very dear about. And also some bills regarding youth inclusion, giving the youths a seat at the table. You know, these are some things that I want to push for, because the youths are the engine house of any functional society. They say when you build the youths, you build the nation. You know, so these are the things. I want to prioritize things that will get us on the right track. You know, giving the youths a form of involvement, a form of belonging, a strong form of belonging. You know, you look at the National Assembly now, you look at the average age of people there, you see it's so high. You see the oldest person at the National Assembly is about 40 or so, the youngest I'm talking about. So we have very few people that will go in there and be voices for the youths. And you know, young people need to have a voice. Young people need to have a seat at the table. Young people need to be more involved. So it's also some bills that I tend to push that will guarantee, that will ensure, mandate political parties to give youths more priority, you know, in terms of getting their candidates and all that, to ensure that youths also have a strong seat at the table.
Yeah, I would like us to stay on this issue of legislation and lawmaking, because I mean that is your primary responsibility as a lawmaker. So, you know, you talked about education. Of course, without good education, we won't be here today having this conversation.
That's true.
So the importance of education in society cannot be overemphasized. But, you know, we're going to the National Assembly, and one of the very critical issues we've had in this country is implementation. Over time, you discover that there are some very good bills out there that were even enacted into laws, acts of the National Assembly that are not being implemented. Now you're talking about mandating governors to, you know, do this thing, prioritize education. But you know the kind of society we found ourselves and the complexity of implementation in this part of the world. So what are you going to be doing differently, even in area of promoting your bills and ensuring that these bills are passed? What are you going to be doing differently to ensure that the bills, when signed into law, are eventually implemented? Because, like I said earlier, most of the laws we have in Nigeria are only existing on paper. When you go down to the street, you discover that these things are not being implemented, especially by those in authority. Yes.
Now, you see, a lawmaker should be one of the most important criterias, you know, qualities a lawmaker should have is the ability to lobby. You know, a lawmaker should be a strong lobbyist, you know, and a lawmaker should be someone that is not laissez-faire when it comes to these bills, you know, because one thing that happens is that these bills get passed, you know, and then we become laissez-faire about it. You know, there's little interest. After it's been passed, it's almost like there's a bit of doctileness about it, and we don't see it through. You know, so for me, I'm not going to be a laissez-faire lawmaker. I'm going to be a proactive, you know. So things, when we start things, we try to see it to the end. And I intend to be a strong voice. I have been a strong voice for those who have been following me, whether across digital platforms or have been following my engagements, you know. So I'm not going as a lawmaker to go in and sleep, you know, to go in and close my eyes to things or to be nonchalant about issues. I'll lobby in to get these bills signed to law, and then lobby another extra level to see that they are fully implemented. You know, so when we have the right kind of individuals in the National Assembly who are in their numbers, you know, that is why as many may have a lot of interest in the presidency, in the governorship, the National Assembly, the legislature, is a sector that should also be given key importance, key attention. Because when we have more and more of the right kind of people in there, then you have more people that can ensure, that can push, that can struggle and ensure that these bills that are signed into law are being acted upon. You know, so yes, so we want to see a situation where we inspire, we direct, we channel to get more and more people, more like a majority in the National Assembly, who will ensure that these things are given the due attention that they deserve. You know, so it's more like an A to Z approach. You know, we don't start and stop halfway. So we start at A and we end at Z. So that is something that I intend to do. I intend to be a strong voice in the National Assembly who will not close his eyes to issues, you know, see them from beginning to end, you know, consistently.
All right, talking about lobbying, one of the issues that has continued to trouble people of Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency is the poor state of the Umuahia Ikoto-Ekpene road. And that road has been bad for a very long time, and over time government upon government has come, made promises to fix
the road. Has taken lives.
Exactly. So, and up till now that is not done. And these are some of the issues that, you know, has continued to be on the front burner of both state and national discussion. We've had over time that the budget provision has been made in several appropriation bills, and up till now nothing has been done. So as someone aspiring to get into this office, we've talked about lobbying. How are you going to be able to lobby the members of the National Assembly to ensure that critical infrastructure is put in place in Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency, not just covered in the budget, but ensure that contractors who handle, who are given responsibilities, or who are given projects to handle within this constituency, do them to the world standard.
Yes. That's it. So in terms of starting with that Umuahia Ikote-Bene road, that road has been an eyesore for a very long time. At least the few times that I have passed through there, it has not been a pleasant experience. And for me right now, that particular road, it's because it's a road that connects the state, the constituency, to another state, and then business opportunities, whether through Umuahia, through Abia, so that road now, I see it as a road that I may not limit myself now to, because now you have the legislative duties, you have the constituency duties, and then you have the office of the federal member representing Ikwuano Umuahia Federal Constituency, and that is a high office. There are a lot of things that I may not be able to get done on my own as Obinna Nwosu right now. You might not be able to get done as yourself, but someone that occupies that office, there is a place where I send a letter to, and I'll get more audience because I occupy. Because one thing is using the role effectively. It's more like the parable of the 1 talent, the 2 talents, and the 5 talents in the Bible. For me, that road is something that, if it means, going out of the way, like the Akwa Ibom part, from the information I gathered, it was the state government that got it done. They did not wait for the federal government. I don't know. I heard that they were also the government reimbursed them. So for that road, we have to look at ways, using that office, even if it means attracting the private sector, if it means, because we cannot leave it at that condition. We have seen this year, is it 2 or 3 students that have lost their lives there? So as a legislator, I'm going to lobby as the member representing Ikwuano Umuahia at the National Assembly. If it means trying to get collaborations, because like you said, I have seen this situation where they say it was provided for in the bills and the budget, but we have seen it in this way. So it might have to get to a point where we might have to look at the Samin Bakwe approach, with the international airports, where we reach out to people. One thing I intend to do is to inspire, lead by example, reach out to people and say, look, we have to see a way to address this road. It has hurt our economy. We have lost our children here. We have to, if it means thinking outside the box, it might be in form of constituency projects, reaching across to the private sector, to the diaspora, to the prominent sons and daughters from the constituency, and say, look, we cannot just keep waiting and waiting on excuse, because several times we hear that this road has been, been provided for in the budget, but nothing, it's been done to date. It keeps getting worse. So one thing I also intend to do is to inspire. By the way I will represent the people, I intend to earn the confidence of our notable sons and daughters, both in the States, in the diaspora, and then some key issues such as that road. We'll see how we can form a form of partnership. It could be corporate social responsibility, reach across to people so we address that road. The last time I applied that road with my family, it was a horrible experience. And I say I will use the office to make sure that everything is being done, lobbying from all sectors, lobbying from the federal sector, lobbying from the diaspora sector, lobbying to get that key road, because it's one of the most essential roads for the constituency. Ensure that it is addressed, it is tackled one way or another. The people have suffered enough, so we consider the option of doing something different.
All right, that's okay, and we've observed the bureaucratic bottlenecks that continue to hold down some of these projects and programs. And beyond those bottlenecks, there's also another problem that has to do with accountability, especially in the area of constituency allowances and how these allowances are used. So how are you going to manage the constituency allowances, and will you be able to give the people of Ikwuano Federal Constituency the assurance that you will be accountable to them, whether on a yearly basis, giving account of your stewardship and giving account of how the constituency allowances are used to the benefit of the members of your constituency?
Yes. So I'm someone who is very big on accountability, you know, not just because I'm an accountant, a certified accountant, but as a result of upbringing. I have been very keen on accountability, and I'm very happy that I'm live on record here. You know, one thing I love about this new digital era is that it gives room for receipts. You know, I think online they call it receipts. You know, some people, when they go out of line, you know, from their you know, their beliefs in the past, and people bring out. I am happy that I'm live on record. One thing I promise the people of Ikwuano Umuahia is an open book representation. You know, because I want to see more people know more, be more informed about legislature, about governance, and the only way you can achieve something like that, you know, is by leaving a track record, leaving documents where they can follow, and then in the future they say, okay, this is where Obinna Nwosu got it right, this is where he got it wrong, you know, and then they documented. I love to see things documented. So in terms of constituency allowances, it's going to be open book. The people in the constituency are going to know how every penny is going to be utilized. Every penny. You know, I'm someone that intends to be in public service for a long time. Like I said, I love to serve. You know, that is why I came into even the civil service when I got back from London, and I've always been someone who is passionate about service, about public service. You know, I could have easily decided to stay back in the UK, in London, when I had the offer, but I'm committed to the nation. I'm committed to service. So for us, the younger generation now, we are seeing a new generation of young people who want to hold leaders accountable. Like I say, I'm very happy with this progressive Abia youths, with what you are doing, you know, to ensure that leaders, office seekers are being grilled, are being heard from, and then people know what they are representing, what they are to get, and then hold them to account in terms of the future. You know, currently I'm the youngest candidate, House of Rep candidate in Abia State, and for someone who says he wants to serve, if I want a career in politics, which is of diligent service, I have to set an example where people can come up and say, look, we gave him one talent to go out to serve us then, and he represented us well, he was transparent, he was accountable. Maybe we can consider giving him higher responsibility. You know, so that is what I believe in. That is something I want to get done, because I want to be in public service for a long time, inspire people to come into public service so that collectively we build our society. We fix Abia State, we fix Nigeria, we fix the issues, the loopholes we have in Ikwuano Umuahia. You know, the plans I have, you know, are plans that cannot be achieved by someone who is not accountable. You know, so my antecedents are there. Some of the activities, whether activities I have put up in the past, I have tried to be accountable and put out public accounts of how, whether it could be fundraising or stuff, how the funds were utilized. So this is how I am naturally. This is how I was brought up. And I want to inspire more generation of young people who will toe this path of accountability, of accessibility. So that is something that I am promising the people of Ikwuano Umuahia, that my representation will make them know more about the role of the legislator, about what comes with the office. There's a lot that is being shrouded in secrecy. Right now you ask the average Nigerian what the House of Rep member earns. Many people do not know. Many people do not know what the House of the Senate, a member of the Senate earns. Many do not know what the House of Assembly member earns. So these are things that have been shrouded in secrecy for a long time. And one thing I intend to do is to demystify. I intend to demystify some of these things as a young person, demystify it for other young people. Today, I am the youngest candidate seeking to go into the House of Rep in Abia State. By 2027, I am hoping to see people younger than me who will break my record, So who will break my record, because I believe youths should have a seat at the table. There's a lot that young people can offer, So I want to be someone who inspires many more young people to come in, and the only way you do that is through accountability, through transparency, through civic responsibility, through setting a roadmap, a track record that people can go in and say, look at what this young man did. I too would like to do that and even do better. So that is my visions, that is my goal.
All right, thank you so much. If my memory serves me right, you mentioned young people like 3, 4, 5 times, and it's quite impressive to note that you are the youngest person running for House of Reps in Abia State. I mean, it's very good, and I applaud you for that. But then coming to that young people's constituency, coming to that youth constituency, coming to that class of young people in Abia State and Nigeria as a whole, what is your plan to address restiveness and address the high level of unemployment in not just Abia State? Abia State has more than, the unemployment rate in Abia is way beyond 33%. And Nigeria is, in fact, when you combine the unemployment and the underemployment rate, you see that more than 60% of the population are within that circle. So what are your plans to address these issues, and are you thinking of proposing bills that will help address the issues of unemployment and youth restiveness in the country?
Yes. Now, one thing about the youths, we as young people in every society, the youths can be a blessing or a curse. Societies that make provision for young people are societies that will see the youths become a blessing. Like you mentioned the youth restlessness, you mentioned the insecurity. A lot of these things are things that, if we are being realistic with ourselves, are being perpetrated by the youths. The youths are devices for some of these issues. So, and this is what happens in societies that allow the youths become a curse. And the only way to prioritize the youths, make youths a blessing, is one, giving them inclusion, giving the youths inclusion, prioritizing their affairs, setting in place an economy that can bubble and make sure that youths are well employed. We look at our constituency here now, we have an issue of, okay, you look at the factories in Abia State. If you narrow down the factories in Abia State, I think about less than 8%, 7 to 8% are what you can find within this constituency. Industrialization is one firm way to create jobs for the youths. So one thing I intend to do as a legislator representing Ikwuano Umuahia, while I'm working on my legislative duties, I'm also trying to see how I can get our sons, our daughters, well-meaning Nigerians, investors, to come down here to place factories. Like I said, I have worked in occupational safety and health as an inspector of factories. I know these are places where you create the jobs. The era of, I love what Paul Kagame did in is it Uganda, Paul Kagame, Rwanda. You know, he's trying to limit how raw materials are being exported out of the country. Because the true way you create jobs is to harness value chain. You know, and this is part of the bills that I will be pushing for as well. To ensure that Nigeria is not a country where you just come, you carry raw materials, the crude oil, without refining, and then you export. And then these people go out sometimes, refine and sell back to you, and it looks like a clownery. You know, so I want to see a situation where we have bills, policies to ensure that people who want to take our raw materials we accommodate them, we accommodate and also mandate them to a certain level to set up factories here, you know, put rebates, put a form of encouragement, and while encouraging, also mandating them to set up these factories. You know, you come out, you take the raw materials, then you go to your home country and then you create the factories, you employ your own children, your own youths and all that. Meanwhile, we here, it's nothing for our youths. So I'll push for bills to ensure that youths are, these foreign associations, companies that come down to take raw materials, also invest down home, you know, get their factories, their plants planted over here in Abia State, because this is one way we create the jobs. Also attracting investors, foreign bodies to also come down here to invest and create jobs, set up factories, set up institutions in the States. This is how we get our youths.
Thank you so much. It's been an awesome time having this interaction with Prince Obinna Nwosu, the ADC candidate for Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency, who is the youngest person running for Federal House of Reps in Abia State, and has given us some insights about what he intends to do for the good people of Umuahia Ikwuano Federal Constituency. Is the work to good governance, and we're having these conversations, holding those who want to lead at different levels of governance to account, to understand their ideologies, get hold of their manifestos, and hold them to account before, during, and after the elections. Because as far as we're concerned, we are having this work to good governance, just like the iconic Mandela had that work that was able to truncate apartheid in South Africa. We're believing, hoping that with hard work, consistency, commitment, and overall attention to details in terms of leadership and governance in Abia State and Nigeria, the youths of this country, this generation, will transform the level, the standard, and the overall content of leadership in this country and Africa by extension. Prince Obinna, it's been an awesome interaction with you.
Thank you.
We're having this wide audience, and some people are sending in some questions. Some members of the constituency are sending in questions that they want to ask you. And before we wrap up, we'll take one or two of those questions so you can respond to them, so everybody understands that, you know, we are all involved in this conversation. But just to ask you this question, what happens if you lose this election?
Well, recently I think I shared my CV. I think I was the first candidate also to do that. I publicly, at least seeking for the office, put out my CV out there to the public. And for those who looked at my CV, they saw I was well grounded. You know, to surprise you, you know, I still have a lot of people who were somehow disappointed that I resigned my job in the public service to come and run for office. Because when I got in to the civil service, I was one of the most promising Nigerians in the civil service, because when I got in at a young age and at a very high level, and that was because of my qualifications, you know, both home and abroad. You know, so if you go out there and look through my CV, with a sense of humility, I believe I am not one who without politics or without winning an election has nothing else to do. You know, it's more about dusting up my CV once again, you know, dusting up my CV, you know, and going and looking at the next thing. I could easily, there are many options to be looked at, still look for different ways to serve the public, you know. I could go to the classroom, you know, to the university, I could lecture, I could serve in maybe another capacity outside the rep member. You know, I could go into the private sector. I could, there are various opportunities, but after the election is something that I would have to weigh my options, and then know what best for me. But like I said, anyone who looks through my CV will know that this is not the kind of candidate that if he loses election becomes, oh my God, I'm finished. No, that is not the kind of candidate that I am. I could easily dust up myself and then move on to the next one. But I'm very optimistic that I will win the election. Like I say, with a sense of humility, despite being the youngest candidate running for House of Rep. I believe if you look at the INEC data being published, I say I'm the most qualified. I'm honestly the most. It's something that anyone can go and look at and vet, you know. So by God's grace, I'm believing that I'm going to win the election. But if I don't win the election, I will look at various ways to serve in different capacities. The public. So.
All right. So before we wrap up, I'll have one of our representatives give us a few questions, maybe just one or two of them from members of the public who have been following this conversation. So.
Okay, some questions I have here. This person says, flooding and gully erosion are two problems ravaging states in Nigeria, especially in the southeast and south zones. As a legislator, what are your plans to mitigate this?
Now, the solution to flooding, it's always, although this year, to be honest, it has rained quite a lot, you know, but we need to have dams in place. You know, we really have to have dams in place. And there are some of our dams that are uncompleted that can channel this. So while a legislator may have some powers, there's also the role of the executive to see that some of these projects are given the urgency they require, you know, and for us as legislators, part of our roles to checkmate the executive, to get them sit up, you know, and prioritize these things. So dams, more dams to be addressed, and in terms of this, because despite the fact we talk about flooding right now, there are still some parts of the country where there's still water shortages. So we have to find ways to divert some of this excess water to the right channels. From there, what do we call it now? For those where the challenge they have is building roads without, what do we call it now?
Waterways.
Yes, without waterways, and also for places where those are the issues, we'll also give a voice to that, because one thing I want to be is I want to be a strong voice, you know, for issues where there's dams needed, like some of these ones now we have to construct dams in certain places to channel some of these excess waters to the dams. You know, for places where it's a drainage issue, then we'll prioritize putting pressure on some of the government officials to give them the priority they need so that the drainages can be cleared up so water can pass through. And then some of this issue is just as also the climate change. You know, climate change. I don't think I have seen a year where it rained this much. So yes, so while we'll have our own responsibilities as lawmakers, putting pressure on the executive to see that what needs to be done has to be done, you know, there are some of these issues that are climate change, that is a global situation. So I'll give a voice to putting dams, you know, where needed, uncompleted dams to be finished up, and also we'll just give attention, you know, be a voice, stand up and talk on this issue and push and legislate, and then join advocacies to ensure that attention is being given to these issues that need attention. So, yeah.
Thank you for that answer as well. Just before we take that question, one critical thing that we need to also talk about, or you need to put a voice to, is the fact that Nigeria is richly broke at this moment. So, talking about building, constructing, all of that requires resources. But at this critical time when we don't even have these resources, where our debt to GDP ratio is alarming, and we're even at a point where allegedly we borrow to pay salaries, although that is not officially confirmed by the government. But these are some of the issues we see. So what are you going to be doing differently? What are you going to be proposing to ensure that we improve or increase revenue generation in this country, and ensure that eventually, when some of these ideas are brought to the front burner, they are not relegated as it has always been?
Yes. Now, you see, for me now, who I happen to be a lean resource manager, one of the problems that we are facing in this country is, despite having all the resources, it is good to also have, even in a time of abundance, it is good to have leaders who are lean resource managers, avoiding unnecessary spendings and channeling resources to the wrong cause. One of the key challenges we have faced in Nigeria is we misappropriate our funds, our revenues, and all that. Things that need urgent attention will be put at the back seat, while the ones that are, in the inferior are put at the front burner. So one thing that we will push for, as the lawmakers are in charge of signing the budgets, screening the budgets and all that. Yes. So one thing we will ensure is that funds are being channeled to the right resources. Wasteful spendings, we'll really look at it. The spendings of government officials, be it the House of Reps, the Senate, even the PAs. I was surprised that I saw a time they put out the payroll of an government aid. I don't know if it was a media aid or so. And I saw that a young media aid was earning more than a professor in Nigeria. So, and these are some of the things where you see, for an education advocate, for someone, you look at my profile, you see this is someone that loves education, because I know the importance of education in building society. Some of the key issues that need to be addressed, you see as lecturers protest, going on strike and all that, because they feel they have not been given the due attention they need. And sometimes you wouldn't blame them, because you just go and look at the budget. You see what is channeled to education, and you see what is channeled to some other frivolities, and you say what is going on. So one thing I intend to do is to ensure that I'll be a voice. I'll lobby my fellow legislators to ensure that we put the society first. We put the society first. It's unfair for executives and their media aides, PAs and SAs to be receiving exuberant sums, while the core sectors that we need to build our societies are being neglected. So that is it. Proper utilization of funds, and then there's something about electing quality right leaders. It brings in investor confidence. There's if Nigerians get it right in 2023, you see a situation where investors will have more confidence, because every candidate, every aspirant, every candidate has a level of confidence attached to them. Someone knows a candidate who is business friendly. Someone knows a legislator who is tech friendly, technology, the tech ecosystem. The investors know, because as an investor, you are coming out to put your money. You want to do your homework first, so something is, Nigerians also have their own role to play by electing, by voting wisely. because when you vote in the right leaders, it gives investor confidence. So people come in and invest in setting up factories that will employ the young people, you know, bringing up institutions, better academic institutions, whether, you know, so some of these things, you know, so the leader alone, just electing the right leader has solved a good percentage of the problem, you know. So while we talk about the legislator, the leaders, the people, we as citizens also have our own roles to play by going in to vote credible candidates across board. You know, a firm party person will say that vote my party, but for a patriot will say that go out and vote for the best candidates. You know, that will be the advice that a patriot will say. Do your homework. As a responsible citizen, it is your duty to do your homework and find out who the best candidate is, and then go out and vote for the best candidates. You know, it is party loyalists who will go out and say, hey, we are voting our party from top to bottom and all those kind of stuff.
So essentially you're saying that the people should not vote your party or true?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the people should not vote my party.
Okay.
I'm saying that the people should vote responsibly.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So that would be my message as a citizen to the people. But my message to the party members might be a different message. You know, the party members will go out and say, we are going to vote our party. That will be the average. But then Nigeria is at a point right now where I feel the people should be more responsible and look at candidates, look at the credibility of the candidates. Like for someone like me who am running this race, it's unfortunate that I'm running this race and some people see me as the underdog. You know, if I say, bring in an independent body and tell them, bring out all the candidates and vet this candidate, let them look at our track records, our antecedents. It's only in Nigeria that I'll consider myself, that I will be considered to be an underdog because of the perspective that Nigerians have played their politics in. So Nigerians need to go out there and vote credible candidates, regardless of political party or who has the money or who has the big pockets and who, regardless of age or any other thing. So I'm saying this now because myself, someone was, the day I put out my profile online, which showed my antecedents, things I have done, career in terms of CV, academic career and all that, a lot of people were in shock. They say, wow, though this guy is the youngest candidate, he is quite sound and he fits the profile, you know. But some Nigerians go out there and they put other things in the forefront instead of competence and capacity, you know. So that would be my message to Nigerians, you know, that this time, 2023, we have to vote wisely. Vote for the best president, you know. Vote for the best senatorial candidate. Vote for the best governor. Because we are doing this for our children. So I expect the citizens to go out there and do their homework, you know. And I believe when they do their homework, some candidates of the ADC will definitely win elections. Some candidates, because no party is going to win all the roles. No party is going to win. Some candidates from other parties would also win. But yes, I want to see my party win because I know we have some sound candidates. So, but what I'm saying to Nigerians, go out, do your homework. Fish out for quality candidates, find out their political parties, and on that day, you go out and vote for the best, because that is what the little gift you can give to the younger ones who are not old enough to vote. You know, for those who are 18 and above, there's a lot of burden on your shoulders. Because when you go out there to vote, you are voting for those kids who are not old enough to vote. So you also consider them and give them who will also prioritize their interests and give them a better society to thrive in.
Thank you. Just before we take the last question from our viewers, anyway, just a comment. I wouldn't know if what you said has anything to do with some recent observations. You know, we've seen members of different political parties, I mean, put their pictures online and then attach maybe a presidential candidate from another party to it. So I wouldn't know if this has anything to do with it, but we can just go ahead and take the last question.
You know, quite interesting. You know, this is something that I think the politicians are starting to see, that the people are now getting wiser. The people, Nigerians have suffered a lot, and there is now this new awareness, this new awakening. I was surprised that when I saw this trend, I also saw some people in the so-called big parties doing that. You know, I saw some candidates of the big parties using it, and they say, okay, the people now are wiser and they are going in this direction. So how can I key into this direction also? So if you feel you are, so that is a trend that may happen a lot in 2023, and this would be something that will happen across various political parties, like we are already seeing. There are billboards of people in the APC, PDP, ADC. So yes, in as much as the political parties may not be so happy about it, but this is the brainchild of the suffering of Nigerians. You know, Nigerians have suffered so much, and many now have said to themselves, you know what, I'm not going to vote for a political party anymore. I'm going to vote for personalities. You know, someone was cracking a joke, and he said in 2023 he's going to vote like someone who goes to a restaurant, who say, for presidency, give me this one, for governor, give me this one. You know, so that is as a result of the struggle that the people have. I think Nigerians have had it hard. You know, we are currently the poverty capital of the world. You know, we see the youth unemployment. You know, you see the insecurity. You see the, you know, so there's a lot of infrastructural challenges that has made so many Nigerians say, you know what, it is time to do away with the status quo and consider doing things differently. You know, so yeah, I believe Nigerians are in that position now, and I will not discourage anyone who comes to me and say, in 2023, I'm going to vote for the best candidates only. And I'll say, okay, the only thing I'll say, look at my party, or my party ADC also have some quality candidates. So yeah, so that is the position. So,
all right, so we'll take the last question from the audience, and then we'll wrap up this conversation.
Okay, it's a two-in-one question, so I'll read out two questions, then you handle them. The first one says, the education sector in your constituency, especially in your native or home plan, is a comatose state. For example, most of the public school facilities are in very deplorable conditions. As a legislator, what will be your action plan to revive the education sector in your constituency and country at large? Then the second question says, what is your review on Umuahia Federal Constituency representation?
My review.
Yes. Yeah, that is the current representation
of Umuahia Federal Constituency.
Yes. You see, let me start with the educational sector for a start. You know, a lot of things that can lead to these challenges is one thing I pointed out. You know, we have states in Nigeria where you hear stories of teachers being owed months in salaries. You know, and when you start owing the teachers, and many of them start getting demoralized. Like I said, a teacher can only give his best when he is well motivated. A well motivated teacher is in the best position to give the best to the students and the children. You know, and that is something I want. I want the best for our children. So for a start, you know, let's prioritize this pay teachers first policy to ensure that at least the teachers are not being paid. Because a teacher who is not being paid will sometimes come up and say, you know, today I don't feel like coming to school. Today I don't feel like teaching. Today, in fact, the class, no homework for you. No, you know, do not take it serious. And before you know, that is where the collapse starts. You know, when you bring in the teachers, you stimulate them properly, you prioritize their welfare, you prioritize their trainings and all, and then the confidence of the teacher, of the parents start coming up and say, wow, look at the teachers, they have brought in teachers, the teachers are motivated, the teachers are going to school. You know, you go to some schools and you barely see a teacher or two in a day. You know, so when you do this, the confidence comes. You know, the actions of leaders have that ability to boost confidence of both investors, of parents, of the populace, and also to dampen the confidence, you know, and this is now in terms of educational sector. So one thing I'm trying to do is to ensure that the educational sector is given adequate priority. And for a start, one thing I know for certain is if we can achieve this pay teachers first policy, that alone will cover a lot of the holes, a lot of the loopholes that is very significant. It's very significant. So if we can achieve that, we have solved a large percent of the problems. You know, and then there are other things. Supporting the schools. You know, part of my constituency project is to ensure that we try to renovate, add vigor to our schools, help equip the schools. You know, I'm big on education, like I say, because I know education is the bedrock of nation building. If you see societies where things are working very well, the secret is not difficult. It's education. They have fixed their educational sector. You know, so for me, in my constituency projects, there's going to be provision to support the schools. You know, give them equipment, you know, be it computers to make sure that our children in Ikwuano Umuahia can hold down the fort when paired with kids from any part of the world. You know, so that is someone I see myself as, and that is what I want to see among our young ones. I want to see kids from Ikwuano Umuahia who can stand shoulder to shoulder with kids from any part of the world, whether the Chinese or Japanese or Americans or any part. So, and that is true education. So we'll prioritize the core needs of the society for education, and then yes, so that is that for a start.
Yeah, so the last question was about the current representation of Ikwuano. If you are to rate the current representation from 1 to 10, what would the rating be?
You know, for me, I came in, I'm running because I feel a lot more can be done. You know, I'm running because I feel a lot more can be done. I have been pursuing my candidacy. I believe one of the reasons why I have come so far is I'm not an aspirant who goes about attacking the other candidates. What I go trying to do is to let the people know that there is room for a lot more in terms of our infrastructure, decaying infrastructure, the educational sector, the security, the youth priority, the unemployment. I'm letting people know that we need to open a new page. You know, we cannot continue doing the same things and expect a different result. So my candidacy represents a paradigm shift, a new era, a well-intended representation. So that would be what I'll say. There's so much room for improvement.
Okay, so you mean the current representation has not been good enough?
There's room for improvement. A lot of room.
That means it's not been good enough.
You might want to put it that way.
no, if you're saying that there's room for improvement, I mean you can only improve on what is not good enough.
Yes.
So okay, so it's not good enough.
So we can do a lot more. We can do a lot more. So yeah.
All right, so to conclude this particular engagement, the Progressive Abia Youth has been on the front burner of this engagement. I mean, mobilizing the young people to take responsibility, to know that this is our time. The tomorrow they've been telling us since donkey years is today. The tomorrow has come. So this is our time to take responsibility and take action. And we've done well to use our network, our strength, and capacity of very wonderful youths across the 17 local government areas to partner with INEC, go around the communities to sensitize people, and we achieve great results. We achieve great success in partnership with other NGOs, the likes of African Primary Healthcare Foundation, the likes of Nigerian Physicians Advocacy Group, Organization for Impact and Reform, and other organizations that saw the credibility that we command and came in to partner with us to drive this project. But at this point, all of those PVCs that we registered will be useless if people don't pick them up.
Out and pick
in
them up.
2019, Abia State alone had more than 300,000 PVCs uncollected.
Wow.
According to data from INEC, more than 5 million PVCs were uncollected across the federation.
Wow.
So now we are charging people to take responsibility, to take a step further and pick their PVC. So we want you to call on your supporters, to call on members of Umuahia Federal Constituency to take responsibility and complete the process, although not completing the full circle, but taking that initiative to go pick up their PVCs and then prepare themselves to cast their vote on the day of the election. So you can talk to them and get them to do what they need to do.
Yes. So the 2023 election is a fight for the lifeblood of Nigerians. It is the duty of every responsible citizen, to go out there and pick up their voters card, especially our young people. As young people, we have not played our part. We're in Africa here, where the youth population is the dominant population in our society. So from the latest INEC data, the youth made up about 71% of the registered voters. So, but all this will be futile if we don't go out there and register for our PVC. And something I want to encourage a lot of people to do is we should not wait for the last minute. We should not wait for the last minute. Right now, you go to INEC, you can easily walk in now and you go in and you get your PVC without queuing up and all that. So we shouldn't put ourselves in the situation that we put ourselves in during the PVC registration, where it was during the final week that so many people were rushing and rushing to go out and register for their voters card. For those who have been fortunate to register, I say congratulations, because you are part of the people who, by God's grace, will elect the right kind of leaders for Nigeria in 2023. So, but you have to complete the process. And completing that process means walking to an INEC office to go and get your PVC. By holding that PVC, that your PVC is your voice, and you have a stake to determine who the next president, who the next governor, who the next senator, who the next House of Rep, who the next House of Assembly to represent you, your loved ones, your kids, your family is going to be. So it is very important that we go out there and pick up this voters card. 2023, we have to get it right. And those who pick up their PVCs will be those who will have that sense of history making, that we were part of those who made it happen. It will be very unfortunate for anyone if the 2023 election turns out to be an election that maybe the election was decided by one vote, and you feel very bitter in your heart and said, if I had voted. I was watching a movie, an American movie, where the election was decided by a single vote. So I'll encourage all citizens to see that your vote as the vote that will determine who the next president is going to be, who the next senator is going to be, who the next House of Rep member is going to be. See that your vote as the vote that will decide. So to be in that position, go and get your PVC to ensure that that vote counts. Please, the youths, the time is now for us. They have told us that we are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of tomorrow. That tomorrow is here. The future is here. Last year, I was privileged to be invited to be the father of the day at the children harvest at the Methodist headquarters in Abuja. And in my remark to the children, I said to them that you are the leaders of tomorrow. So for those who think for someone like me at 31 is still leaders of tomorrow, leaders of tomorrow cannot be telling leaders of tomorrow that they are leaders of tomorrow. So for many of us young people, the time is now to start getting involved, making influence, having a say in the outcome of what our society is going to be like. So I'm very happy with what the progressive Abia youths are doing. This is a fantastic and amazing initiative, encouraging initiative to ensure that people get to have a feel of their leaders and make the right decisions. So these interactions is welcome. And I hope that as time comes by, the progressive Abia youths will also organize debates for the candidates. You know, Africa, Nigeria is a society where someone will put out an amazing manifesto, then you come out and say, come and debate to defend this manifesto you put out, and they don't show up for debates. They don't show up for public events. So I'm happy that you are doing this. I hope more candidates will come on board to interact and engage with the public, with the audience, take questions so the audience can get a pulse of the candidates and know what they would expect different or what they will be bringing to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, to that statement, we are having this interaction with all the candidates running for office in Abia.
Impressive.
No exceptions. But just to end this conversation, I will re-echo what Prince Obinna said, and this is to you that is watching us from every part of the state, country, and beyond. This is the time is now. Just like the legendary FDR, legendary leader in America who took the initiative and turned the bad situation into a better one for the country. He took that giant step, he took that awareness, yes, that understanding that the time to take action is now, and the mobilization of resources, mobilization of human and materials that are necessary for that change to happen, for America to outlive the most trying times. And these are the most trying times. This is the most trying time for Abia State. This is the most trying time for Nigeria. We never had it this bad in Abia. We never had it this bad in Nigeria. And so I'm calling on you to be that change that you preach. The days of pointing and accusing fingers is over. Go out there, pick up your pieces, don't wait for the last moment, just like Prince Obinna have said. And we're going to be having this conversation. It's not going to end before the election. We're going to continue having this conversation to ensure that all of these promises that candidates make before they get into office become reality. On this note, I'm going to be presenting Prince Obinna with our peace accord. For these 2023 elections, we want to have a seamless, free, fair, and credible election. And we want all the candidates that we're interacting with to commit to this particular initiative. We had the APC candidate for Umuahia ADC Federal Constituency sign this peace accord, and we want to also have you, you can quickly go through the content of the peace accord, which will also be shared with members of the public, that you are committing to peaceful, fair, and credible elections come 2023.
Yes. Well, as the ADC candidate representing Ikwuano Umuahia Federal Constituency, I would want to make it known and clear that when it comes to peace, credible, transparent elections, that I will be committing myself to this accord, and I will be happy to sign this.
All right, okay. So we can just quickly, here's the pen.
Okay. All right.
So can we get something that he can sign on? We can use the... We're good, are we? because you signed it last week.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I have read through it, and
Okay, so you sign and then you write your full name again.
okay. Okay.
It's been a wonderful time with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And I'll encourage you guys to keep. This is an initiative worthy of applaud. So I say big kudos to you. Continue in this light towards saying good governance, transparency, and solid leadership in our society. So this is commendable, and I say keep it up and big kudos.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.